Going to take a look at how to set up the PBR UDIM system for Farming Simulator 19. You get this PDF file from the Giants Developer Network, and it basically goes into some detail, very little detail, about what is required for your specular map, your scratch mask, ambient occlusion, and dirt mask. But it's what I want to look at here mostly is the PBR UDIM setup. And we have this material property set by UV location, 0 to 39 from plastic, metal, wood, and so on and so on. We also have these color masks. So if you basically have a particular material, by the default color of that material you don't want, you can then use the color mask to have it whatever color you want it to be, basically. So for example, here I have painted metal, but if I don't want gray painted metal, or the black painted metal that's under this UV location, I can just use a color mask slot and then have it whatever color I want it to be. And this also then is controlled through the XML for your color change within the game. So whatever you want to have it, color selectable, that is where you would have your UV islands in one of these color masks, so that you can actually select whatever color you want it to be in game. I'm not going to go into all the XML stuff. I'm just going to basically explain this side of things with the UV setup within Blender. So if you want to get this, again, as I say, get it from the Giants Developer Network. It's worth having as a reference, in my opinion. So yeah, get that and have a look through that. Anyway, so what I want to do here, this is the way that I do this, because at the moment I have my trailer here and all of the objects are separated, but there are some parts like the trailer here, or the actual box trailer section, the body, that does have like the axle section there, and also the interior of the box trailer. I want that to be a different setup. I want both of those to be different to the main actual exterior of the box trailer. So what I do is I tend to set up materials for everything that I want to have different to something else. Now in this particular scenario, the actual the drawbar here and also the axle part is going to be sharing the same material. They are both going to be black. Black metal, specifically the mud guards are going to be black plastic, and then the exterior of the box tray is going to be blue metal, and then the pin is going to be chrome. The interior in here is going to be like a galvanized kind of plating setup. That's the plan, at least. So what I would do here is just basically apply or set up different materials for each section I want to do. So what I'm going to do is actually hide some of this. So I'm going to hide all of those parts to start with, just by highlighting them and then pressing H. If I turn these on this way, there we go. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm just going to apply a single material, which if you haven't got any materials applied already, when you apply the first one, it's going to apply it to everything on that object. So we'll go new, and I'm just going to call this blue metal, which, as I say, will basically cover the entire object. So whatever, if I go into material preview, whatever I change this to, everything's going to change to it. So I could set that one to blue metal, so I can just set it to blue or whatever, just to kind of visually see that it's going to be blue. Then what I want to do is actually select some other parts. So I'm going to go through on the numpad to go into right orthographic, and then we'll go into edit mode. Let's go into face select, X-ray mode. What I will do is just turn the seams off. So if you have set up things like mark sharp, creases, like I have, because I've got everything going on, I've got creases. I go back into here. Actually, if I deselect everything, that might be able to see it a bit better. There we go. So I've got creases, and I've got sharp, and I've got bevels, and I've got seams. So I've got everything going on. But if they get in the way, because all of these turned on sometimes can be a little bit overpowering and make it difficult to see what's going on, just come into the show overlays, drop down here and just drag and click and drag and turn them all off. Makes it a little bit easier to see what's going on. So I'm just going to again go through on the numpad to go to right orthographic, and I'm then going to go into X-ray mode. If I go into X-ray mode, whatever I box select here will select it for everything on each side everywhere. Because it's X-ray mode, it's just going to cut through and select everything. So that's good. We'll go back in normal mode here, or out of X-ray mode. I'm going to make another material, and then we'll just call this black metal. Spell again for some reason. There we go. And I'll click assign. Very important, you click assign. If I go back into here again, you can see that they are already different. So this one here I can make black. If I want to, I can actually make it metallic, and whatever else I choose to do here, might leave that as it is. So I can do that, for example. So now that's black metal. This is black. This is blue metal, and then I want the interior of this to be, as I say, galvanized. So I'm going to do. Let's go back into solid shade mode. Go back into edit mode. Base select, and then we're just going to go C for circle select. Make sure you have everything else deselected. So Alt A to deselect everything. C for circle select. Scroll your middle mouse to make it bigger or smaller. And we're just going to go around in here to select everything like so. Excellent. And I also have this bevel at the top here that I want to select. So I'm just going to go Shift Alt and left mouse click to do a loop select of all of that. And I'm going to create another new material, and I'm going to assign that. And this one's going to be, we'll just call it inside. I know what that means. As long as you know what it means, call it whatever you want, doesn't really matter. And then I can just basically make that one, grayish kind of color, something like that. And again, if I want to bring the metallic up and do something like that, just so I can visually see the differences and see what's going on. But otherwise, anyway, so what we'll do now, I'm going to go, what I'll do is I'll hide that one. We'll bring back this one here. Now, this one is going to basically be the same as the black metal for the axle. So I can, from the drop down, literally just go black metal. And now that one is the same as the axle part. So that one's easy enough. So we can get rid of that one and go to this one. This is going to be my mud guard. So I want to make this one plastic, like so. Because it's only got one material, I don't need to click assign or anything. I can just assign that. So then we'll do this, make it black. And if you want to, you can then, play around, bring the roughness up so it actually looks like plastic, whatever else. So something like that, for example. And then we can go to the lock pin here, click new, and we're just going to call this one chrome. Again, I can change this so I can, bring it down a little bit on that, and make it metallic, make it really rough, bring the roughness down, so make it really shiny, so it actually looks somewhat like chrome. Alt H will bring everything back, and now I have my setup. So I've got everything I need there, ready to join everything together. So once you've got everything all set up, what I would recommend, or what I do here, is to join everything together at this stage. So whatever object you want to be the main, part that everything else gets merged into, select that one last. So I'm going to do it in the outliner. So I'm going to select this one, then control select everything down to the box trailer here, right click and go join. Now everything is a single mesh, single object. And yeah, so now what I can do is actually go into the UV editor and start moving islands around. So go back into solid shape mode here. And we'll bring out another window. So I'm just going to drag out another window here. We'll go into the UV editor like so. Select this, go into edit mode, base select. And then what I can do here is, and I've already unwrapped this and packed all the islands and everything else. So I can do here in the material list, I'll just bring that up a little bit. So I can just go through here and select my blue metal in the list, and then click select here, and that will just select the active material slots. So now only the islands and the geometry associated with that material are going to be selected. And that just makes it, in my opinion, very much, just easier work with than trying to select the geometry once everything's joined together, trying to select it afterwards. So like I said, this is my method anyway. So what we could do here with the i3D Exporter Tools add-on, go Control U, and we could set up our UV editor, which is going to basically give us our grid system. This is the same as doing it through, whichever one it is, this one here, through the UDIM grid, which is part of Blender now. So if I basically change these numbers here, it's going to change like so, and it's just doing that through the add-on. It you know, in the Python coding, it just set up to give you this 0 to 39 on the grid, which is basically what we have here, 0 to 39. And that's nice to actually have because you can actually see the islands being put into their correct position, and if you really wanted to, you could actually count them across and match it into whatever it is here, just to make sure if you needed to. But I've not had any issues with this. So if I wanted to, let's say for argument's sake, do it manually, and I wanted to refer to this, and I wanted, I don't know, this one here, for example, silver rough. So I would just count it across and count it up. So I go 2 across and 2 up. I could do this manually, so I could just go Control U and then move the UDIMs and then do 1, 2, 1, 2, and now it's in the right place. But that to me, you know, that works. It's nothing, you know, it's there for a reason. But to me, there's a much easier way of doing that with the add-on. We go Control U and pick UDIMs. It brings up basically this within Blender. So now I can come into here and select whatever I want. So I want this to be in a color mask slot. And you may notice that it doesn't, on the grid system here, it doesn't give you that. And there's a reason for that, because you can't go down with the grid system. It's either right or up according to these parts here, as far as I'm aware anyway. You might be able to go, yeah, see, it only goes from 1 up to whatever, and then, you know, you can't go downwards, I don't believe. So that's the reason why there isn't one down. It's just, you know, up, and that's it. So, you know, it is what it is. But anyway, so we're not going to get a grid down here, but that's not an issue. So I want to be in a color slot, so I can just go Control U, pick UDIMs, select my color material slot by just hitting select, click OK, and it's now moved those islands into the correct place. Awesome. So what I can do now is deselect that material, go to the next one, so black metal, and click select. And again, it's only going to select the islands that are, you know, associated with that material and the geometry, and I can then move those into the correct position. So I go Control U, bring up the pie menu, pick UDIMs, and I particularly want this one here. I think that's going to work better for me. So because it's already got the right color, or at least close enough, and I would recommend not to take up the color slots if you don't need to. You know, there's no point if one of these base materials, default materials, you know, it has the color that's, you know, going to do the job, then, you know, don't bother. There's no real need or reason to take up a color slot. So I'm okay with this one here, painted metal in a black kind of color. So we'll just click select and OK, and now those islands have been moved into the correct position. So I can then deselect that one, go to this one here inside, select that, and I want that to be the galvanized metal. So I go Control U, pick UDIMs, and I'm going to go up to this one here, galvanized metal. So I'll click select, and then scroll down, click OK. Now I've got my screen zoomed in quite a lot, but because by default I can't read the writing, my eyes are getting bad, so I've basically just zoomed everything in a bit. So if you were doing this on default, this probably would be, you know, zoomed out somewhat, so you might not need to scroll up and down quite so much as I am. But, you know, anyway, so now we can deselect that one, go to the plastic, select, and if we sort of look at this, you know, I know that that's just one to the right. So in this particular case, what I could do, if I wanted to, I could just go Control U and do it this way and move it one to the right. But again, you know, it's up to you. I'm a very visual person, so I like to see this and go, I want painted plastic, select OK. You know, so, but whatever works for you. So we can now deselect that one, select the chrome, click select, go Control U, pick UDIMs, and I want chrome, so I'm just going to go select, click OK, and that's it. We've now got all of our islands in the correct places for their, PBR material according to the UV selection or UV area, whatever you want to call it, space. So anyway, so now we've got all of that set up. Let's close that one down. We'll go back into here. So what I would do here then, just want to make sure, yeah, that's fine. What I would do here then is now remove all of these materials because we don't need all of those because you can't have multiple materials using the UDIM. You only have one material per object. So you can either remove all of them or remove all of them bar one and just rename one of them, whatever. I prefer to just remove everything and click new. I know it's now a new, fresh material with no changes to anything. It's just default setup, and I can then just call that whatever I want. And I've still got my other materials there if I wanted to go back and change something later. So I could just call this trailer underscore mat, whatever. Again, call it whatever you want. And that's pretty much that. Now we've got everything in the correct places and whatever else. So now I could just take the name, make a copy of that. If I wanted to change it, could do, but that's, again, call it whatever you want. That's good enough for me. And then we just export it out. So once we're happy with everything, I might just actually, let's add the custom split normals. You can either add custom split normals, or the old way of doing it was to edge split. I preferred doing this way and adding the custom split normals, but again, whatever works for you. So just go File, Export, i3D, and we'll paste in the name, deselect our debug options, and then click OK or Export. Done, excellent. Let's close all of that down. We can now open this up in the Giants editor, and we have our trailer. Excellent. So next what we want to do then is I'm going to let's actually well, it doesn't really matter. Let's make a specular map. So I've already baked out my ambient occlusion here. I have actually done it differently to the last video, specifically because I changed some stuff on the geometry which I didn't like, and I had to repack the islands. So but anyway, so I'm just going to open up GIMP, and I'm running 21024. I think it's literally a day, maybe a day or 2 days ago it was updated. But if you have Photoshop or whatever else, use that. So I'm just going to drag in my ambient occlusion. And then what I want to do here, I'm not going to be messing around with dirt and scratches in this video. So all I need to do here is just add in 2 new images here. And I actually want them to be black. Let me delete that one. Let's go over to this one here, and we'll choose black. Go back to here, new, and then foreground color. And I can just duplicate that one and put that one in the middle. I go image mode, make sure it's in grayscale, and then go colors. Let me just see. Remember, no, it's fine. And then components, compose, and this will automatically set up your red, green, and blue channels. Just click OK. We've now got our ambient occlusion. We go File, Export As, go to here, into the folder, and we could just save that out. So I'm just going to call this, I don't know, whatever. We'll just call it trailer underscore specular dot DDS. And with GIMP, you do have to type in the actual format, but that's fine. We'll click export, and there we go. We can minimize that one now. We now have our specular map, and this one here, I believe, is, yeah, so I need to scale this one. So I'm just going to go image, resize, 2048, OK, file, save as, and this one we'll just call trailer underscore normal. God. There we go, normal. And then from the drop down, we'll just go DDS, save, DXT1 emit map, super duper. Okay, so we've now got that. Awesome. Go back in here. Let's put the gloss map on. It would help if I selected the trailer. Go into here and let's see. So I want this one and that one and this normal map. And we need to turn on the tangents. So let's turn on tangents. Custom receive shadows. Awesome. So that's pretty much that. And then what we need to do is add in the shader. So we'll come in here, go into the farm sim installation, and then go data shaders. And we want a vehicle shader and color mask. And as I said before, because I put this in color slot 0, by default that is yellow, but that doesn't mean it always has to be yellow. You can just come into the shader parameters and now change that to whatever you want. So I bring this up a little bit. So in here, what I can do now is just change this to anything I want. So you could do this multiple different ways. What I tend to do is I find a blue that I like in Blender, so you can do that however you want to do that. You do it on the trailer, or what I tend to do here is just create a simple plane like that, and then either perhaps maybe go into rendered mode for cycles, because I find that's a little bit better, than EV. EV to me just seems to be too bright in areas. Cycles just gives me a more real life or real world, representation of what the colour is actually going to be, in my opinion. So we'll go new, and then we can come in here, pick our blue, whatever we want that to be, give it some metallic and whatever else. You can kind of get an idea of what you think it's going to look like. So I quite like that's okay with me. All you need to do then is just take the RGB values from here. So, you can do that however you want to do that. I tend to just kind of put things on other screens if you have multiple screens. So, I'll put my blender up on my other screen, and I can then just go, right, so we've got, that's 0.032, so we'll do in here 0.032, 0.018, 0.018, and 0.532. There we go. And then this last number here is basically the actual material itself. So if we go into the PDF, and this is why I say it's quite handy to have this, because this is going to be painted metal in 16. So that, whatever that number is basically a number you put in the end of here. So I want that to be 16, because but by default it's set to 1, which is plastic. So this one here, and I don't want it painted plastic, I want it metal. So this one here, I'm just going to type a 6, and now that is painted metal. And so if I go Control L to bring in a light, we've now got a blue trailer, painted metal, and all the bits and pieces with my specular map and everything else. Awesome. This has already been done for me. So we've got our galvanized set up in here. Excellent. Looking good. And then I can do the same for this one. So this one, the actual, all of these other ones here, the mud guards, because I place the UVs in a specific slot, I can't change any of those values. That is plastic, and it's always going to be plastic. Same with the axle part here, that's going to be metal, painted metal, always painted metal in that color and whatever else. So, and the same with my pin, that's going to be not galvanized, chrome, sorry. That's going to be I keep saying galvanized. It's going to be chrome, and it's always going to be chrome because it's not using a color slot, a color material slot. I can't change it from what it is by default in that default material. So it's always going to be chrome. So if you want to change the color or the material after the fact, then you need to make sure that you put your UV islands in a color mask slot, one of these. But don't just put them in there for the sake of putting them in there, in my opinion. If you've got a base material, a default material that is going to do the job, then use that. In my opinion, that's the way to go, because it's just going to confuse things later on, and potentially, when you set things up in the XML, if you want to have things color selectable, if you want to set the base color in the XML, number one, you have to have the material name, and then also you have to have the color matte channel, the color mask channel that it's actually in. So you would put the material name, and because this is using one material for everything, if you start getting, putting everything into color channels, into the color mask slots, then things could get a little bit, go a little bit sideways. You might change one thing and it starts to change other things. That's just my opinion on it, but I think that there's no reason to use those color mask slots up if you don't need to use them up. Because I wanted black plastic, and this does exactly what I needed to do. There's no reason for me to use a color slot. Same with this, I wanted painted metal black, and that does exactly what I need to do. Same with the pin, it's chrome. Never going to be anything other than chrome. So, but that's really up to you. You decide what you think is going to work best for you on that. But that's pretty much that. So we've now got a trailer with all the UDIMs set up. Hopefully what I've shown there, helps you out if you're not, if you're struggling with how the UDIM system works. I'd recommend to download this PDF file. There's not a great deal of information in here, but it is nice to have as a reference. If you wanted to see what materials were available, there's lots of them. As I say, 0 to 39. Now this for some reason doesn't show 39, but I've used that specifically so you can actually see what it does, and it is this galvanized, which I think looks fantastic. I think that looks awesome. So, that's what 39 is. But it does actually show that in Blender. So, if you go back into Blender, and let's go back into here, go to our UV islands. If I Blender now going to fall over on its side. Hopefully not. No. Just thinking about it for a little bit, I understand. Yeah, what's going on now? Did I want to be in that? No. Okay, so there we go. Control U, pick UDIMs. Here it actually shows corrugated metal. So I don't know, that's just an oversight on the on that PDF, but at the end of the day, whatever, it is what it is. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Hopefully that helps out. I'm Sure Wizard. Thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.